I'm BETSY. I'm from Partners for Healthier Communities. So welcome, and again, thank you. This is a fantastic turnout. I just want to know why nobody's sitting up here in front. Empty front table. So I'm going to turn it over to Sue Hadieris, who is going to do just an opening and introduction to our keynote speakers.
Thanks, Betsy. First of all, I want to thank everybody in this room because we're not furloughed today. And because you are the people that are making the difference in the health of the communities that we serve. And when we come in the door, a lot of times we look at each other and we go, how are you? Hi, Tracy. How are you doing? And fortunately for most of us, we're able to say, great, doing all right. But there are a lot of people in our communities who can't say that and aren't saying that at this very moment. And the people in this room are the people who are saying, I'm putting a priority on making sure that our neighbors and the people who live in our communities are healthy, that they have the resources that they need, the shelter, the food, and that they have the ability to make good decisions and the health care to support that so that they can live long and healthy lives. So I want to thank you very much. Give each other. I'm really proud to introduce two people today. I kind of think of it in terms of, once in a while you read articles about in the Eastern European countries, no, East, West. Yeah, East. It is East. Eastern European countries where they have arranged marriages, and you kind of wonder, how does that work? Because even when you spend a lot of time trying to pick out just the right partner, sometimes it doesn't work. Well, I'm here to tell you that I am now a believer in arranged marriages. Because during the past year, we've seen the management and the staff and the medical staffs at Goodall Hospital and Southern Maine Medical Center come together under a holding company called Southern Maine Healthcare, and they've been working towards the goal of uniting and forming Southern Maine Healthcare. And the leadership of that has been, I can't even tell you how comfortable it is to work together. It's almost like it was meant to happen. People really felt comfortable from the beginning, and they've worked together as partners, and I think right now there really isn't nobody feels like, oh, I'm from Southern Maine or I'm from Goodall. People feel like I'm part of Southern Maine Healthcare, which is coming in the near future. So I just want to introduce and thank, first of all, PATSY April, who's the CEO, President CEO of Goodall Hospital, who has been working as a soulmate and a partner. I've sat beside her in so many meetings for many hours over the past year, and I'm honored to have, you know, that kind of a relationship with PATSY. And Ed McGeachey, I've worked with for 13 years. Ed is the President and CEO of Southern Maine Medical Center and Southern Maine Healthcare. He is, in his past life, a social worker, but he never could leave it behind. So he leads the hospital with his heart as much as with his mind. And certainly both of them are looking for the clinical enhancements that this new Southern Maine Healthcare entity will bring, but they also are very mindful of the fact that we're the largest healthcare provider in this area, the largest employer in this area, and that many lives, not only those in the hospital and in the physicians' offices, but those who work at the organizations, rely heavily on the decisions and the ability that we have to make this organization as strong as possible in the future. So I turn it over to Ed and PATSY, and they'll let you know what's going on. I'm the finger.
So the question I asked you was, are we doing the video? We're not doing the video today. Are we doing the video today?
Are we doing a video, Betsy?
Are we doing the video today?
What video? No video. I guess not.
Okay. Well, the video's that's part of this presentation. All right, so let me paraphrase what the video would have told you. So the video is about two very similar organizations, Southern Maine Medical Center and Goodall Hospital. And I think that Sue her analogy about an arranged marriage is kind of true literally, but I have, frankly, in my 37-year career at Southern Maine Medical Center, always thought that it made sense for our two organizations to work together. So Biddeford, where Southern Maine Medical Center is located, is a mill town, and the founder of what was back in the when we were founded in 1899, the individual Moses Weber, who founded Weber Hospital, which morphed into Southern Maine Medical Center in the mid-1990s, was a mill superintendent. Okay, and so if you were to look online and on historical sites, what you'd see is that Moses Weber and George Goodall, who founded Goodall Hospital in memory of his wife Henrietta, was also listed his occupation as a mill superintendent. Now, he happened to also own the mills, and Moses Weber didn't. So, so Moses Weber also, like George Goodall, founded Weber Hospital in memory of his wife Eliza. And so the similarities are really countless. But more importantly, that video points out that we are both excellent organizations. Southern Maine Medical Center and Goodall Hospital are both excellent organizations, and we've got the credentials to prove it, actually. So we start from a point of a lot of historical similarities, but also being very, very strong organizations clinically. We provide really, really good care. So Sue, you want to start with the PowerPoint? So coming soon, January 1st of 2014, we will merge Southern Maine Medical Center and Goodall Hospital into one organization, which will be called Southern Maine Healthcare. So January 1st, 2014, the switch gets turned figuratively, and we become one organization. And we envision that organization as a new dynamic healthcare system that will strengthen and sustain excellent healthcare services throughout Greater York County, with, of course, a particular focus on the Sanford area and also the Biddeford area. So we've been working together for well over a year now. Back on October 1st of 2012, we formed a holding company. It was at the same time as Goodall Hospital was joining Maine Health, which is the parent now of both Southern Maine Medical Center and Goodall. So we formed a holding company, and we began to work together intensely toward this goal of January 1st of 2014 to come together. And a big part of that has been learning about each other and figuring out how to put together just the right mix of services in both communities. And so how do you start with this new organization? The first thing that we did was to ask a fundamental question, and that is, Southern Maine Medical Center is a lot bigger than Goodall, so we're going to form a new board. And of course, Southern Maine Medical Center is going to dominate that and make all of the key decisions. Well, that was not what the board of both Southern Maine Medical Center and Goodall Hospital decided to do. In their wisdom, they decided that you don't enter an arranged marriage like this with two people feeling like they're not equal, or two organizations feeling like they're not equal. And so fundamentally, I think you all work with boards in your jobs. And so fundamentally, the boards run the organization. PATSY and I run our hospitals operationally, but all of the major underpinnings of the organization, the policies and the procedures and the attitudes are really formed by the board of directors. So we decided that we're going to have a board that was made up equally of Southern Maine Medical Center and Goodall board members at the time. And so 10 members from each of those two organizations were chosen to make a 20-member board. And it happens that we also decided at the same time to do what Southern Maine Medical Center had been doing, and having a little less than half of the board physicians. Physicians make all of the major decisions about healthcare, and so we wanted to make sure that we had adequate physician representation. So on that 20-member board, about 40% of the board are physicians, and that again was equal between the two medical communities. So what's happened since we made that announcement and formed the holding company in 2012? We've done an awful lot of work in the community and within our organizations to really ask the question, well, what do we want this organization to be, and in particular, what do we want the organization to be in the future? And so the mission, vision, values of this new organization, if you looked at them in comparison to Southern Maine Medical Center's and Goodall's current mission, vision, and values, you wouldn't see a whole lot of difference because, again, we're an awful lot alike, so we see our roles as being very similar. And a lot of voices were represented as we put together the mission, vision, and values, and also as we developed our first strategic plan, which covers the first 2 years of our existence. The year that will start on January 1st, and then the following fiscal year for us. So our vision, and this was actually crafted by a Sanford resident who took a particular interest in this, and it was eventually approved by the Southern Maine Healthcare Board of Directors. Southern Maine Healthcare will be a leader in providing exceptional health care, partnering with patients and their loved ones to achieve optimal health. I want to call your, given the audience here today, I want to call your attention in particular to that last clause or last phrase within the vision statement, partnering with patients and their loved ones to achieve optimal health. Now, 10 years ago, you wouldn't see that in a vision statement for a hospital-centric organization like this. But our mission is really your mission. It's to make people healthy, not just to take care of people who are sick. And you'll see that also reflected in our mission statement. Doing good, Sue? Southern Maine Medical Center exists. We exist to improve the health and the health care of the communities we serve. Okay, so that's our reason for being, that's our purpose, that's what we do. And it's not just taking care of sick people, but it's also working with you and working with others in the community to make people as healthy as we can. And in fact, that's the mission, or the vision of Maine Health, our parent organization. It's to make our communities among the healthiest in America. Okay, and so that's what we're striving for. So our name is changing. Yet we understand that the heritage that comes with the Goodall name and respect that history. And this is the point. So now we get into some things that really relate to the Sanford community. And as Patsy and I do these presentations in variations on the theme, this is really where Patsy takes over to kind of uniquely describe from her perspective and her history in this community some of the reasons why we're doing some of the things we're doing. So, Patsy?
So as Ed has said, we are on track to become Southern Maine Healthcare on January 1st. But what that means is that our signs come down. The Goodall Hospital sign comes down, as well as the Southern Maine Medical Center comes down. And the new signs go up, which will be Southern Maine Healthcare. But with that, we know how near and dear the Goodall name and the Goodall family has been to Sanford. We're in the Goodall room right now, right, the men's club. So our name is changing, and we certainly want to honor the Goodall name. So the way we're going to do that is we are going to maintain the Goodall name on the medical office building in Sanford. So this is the medical office building that's attached to the hospital, and this is depicting what the sign will look like. Again, it will say Goodall Medical Office Building in big letters. And then inside of the building, we will have a historical display of Goodall. So why are we merging? Well, healthcare is extremely complex, and it's certainly changing pretty rapidly. We are facing and continue to face huge financial challenges. And our goal is to sustain a future for hospital care here in Sanford. Through the years, I know it's not a surprise to anybody that's been in this community, Goodall has suffered off and on for years with its financial viability. And at some points through the last several years, really questioned whether we'd be able to really maintain the hospital here in Sanford. Did you go back one slide? Thank you. I already said it. Thank you. I just need to be running. So what that has done is, again, in the papers you've read, it's actually been several years ago now that the staff at Goodall Hospital have not had raises in quite some time. They've lost a week of their vacation time. They've lost their pension match. And so really, the staff have certainly been troopers and sticking with us through this whole time. But above and beyond that, we also have not been able to keep up with the infrastructure of the hospital itself. And so, Goodall needs, it needs a new roof and it needs a new boiler. Our elder care facilities, we provide outstanding care. Care is not the issue for Goodall, but having the capital to invest back into the hospital itself has been a challenge. So, the merger, this purely the size and scale that we will now become as becoming merged together with Southern Maine Medical Center. It will combine the strengths of both of our organizations and allow us to have the scale that allows us to be economically viable. Coming together as Southern Maine Healthcare will be the 5th largest healthcare organization in the state of Maine. And by joining together, we're going to have greater capacity to work with our local communities, to focus on health promotion, prevention, and make our communities the strongest and healthiest they can be. So, our Board of Trustees have made the following commitments to the community. First of all, again, we hope that particularly this slide in particular, we hope it dispels a lot of rumors that are out there. So this is what our Board of Trustees has committed to the community, that we will offer medical and surgical inpatient care both in Sanford and Biddeford. So yes, there will be a hospital in Sanford and we will have inpatient care. We will have 2 full-service emergency departments, one in Sanford and one in Biddeford. We will perform surgery at both hospitals. We'll have expanded access to primary care physicians. So what does that mean? As we need additional family practice physicians, internal medicine physicians, pediatricians, as we find the need, we will hire more. We will provide more local availability of specialists. And actually, our relationship with Southern Maine Medical Center for the Sanford community has allowed us to do that already. One of the nice things about Biddeford is that they actually have access to pulmonologists, cardiologists, neurologists, and we've begun to bring more of those services here in Sanford. So we have additional visiting hours right now in the Sanford internal medicine practice for cardiology, neurology, and pulmonology. We'll also be able to provide an integrated medical record. So what does that mean? Come around February of 2014, all of Southern Maine Healthcare will have one computer system. And so with that, no matter where the patient enters into our system, our physicians will be able to see the test results, the history, the physical, and whatnot in the patient's medical record. We will invest in up-to-date facilities. So as I mentioned about the roof and the boilers, it's going to take us time to plan through all of this, but our board has made a commitment to up-to-date facilities, technology, and equipment. And then ensure access to elder care in Sanford. Again, we know the Sanford community, very, very much so, is endeared to our elder care facilities, and we will continue to ensure access to them. And lastly, expand access to mental health services in Sanford. This has been something that Goodall really has struggled with, quite a bit through the years. There's not enough access to psychiatrists in the state of Maine. And so the way we're going to start with that right now is Goodall has in its hands, we have a contract ready to be signed with St. Mary's for telemedicine, telepsychiatry services. So that's where we're going to start. And again, Southern Maine Medical Center has a really deep educational and several staff members that have quite a bit of knowledge about mental health. And they will come to the Sanford campus, as they already have started to do, to educate our staff. So, our commitment, our investment in our people. By joining together, we will have 2,200 employees, and the larger scale of Southern Maine Healthcare makes it easier to recruit and retain skilled employees. So by us coming together, we're actually going to be able to give the employees back their week's vacation. They're going to have an improved pension plan, and we're going to offer more competitive than what we currently do in the Sanford community, both pay and benefits. So the year ahead is challenging, to say the least. Hospitals are faced with shrinking reimbursements. So this year alone, this is what we're anticipating. The new government payment cuts, so this is just for this year alone. Sequestration, which in part is Obamacare, essentially for us to perform the same level of services for the same people, we'll see a $1.5 million cut. In addition to that, the state of Maine is also cutting reimbursement, and so we're anticipating $1.6 million in cuts there. And then the hospital tax is being changed. So $4.1 million in reimbursement cuts for the same level of services. In addition to that, while we continue to see decreases in reimbursement, we're also seeing an increase in free care and bad debt. So this year alone, we can anticipate for Southern Maine Healthcare that we will give out, if you will, $33 million in free care and bad debt to the community. So, again, Southern Maine Medical Center has for years run at a profit, not a large profit, but has been financially stable and viable for years. Goodall, as you know, has struggled. So when we come together, when you look at all the reimbursement cuts that are coming our way, and then us giving back some of the benefits to the employees, our shortfall for this year alone is $4.3 million, and we need to address that shortfall. So coming together as part of Southern Maine Healthcare, but also as part of Maine Health, has allowed us to share our staffing. So as directors and managers have left, we have begun to share managers. We have access to group purchasing. So what that means is, based on Maine Health size and scale, they have 8 hospitals under them. So you can imagine, just for instance, the amount of gauze that they buy, right? So the group purchasing simply says that we have access to pay less for the supplies than we did in the past. So we actually have savings there. And then we've begun to consolidate some duplicated services. We just can't afford to continue to do what we're doing now. So here's an example of one department that we've consolidated already. Southern Maine Medical Center had a 6-bed sleep lab in Biddeford. Goodall Hospital had a 4-bed sleep lab, or has a 4-bed sleep lab in the Goodall Health Center in Kennebunk. And so as we come together, we have closed the site in Biddeford and are now saving on that rental cost. And we have now had a combined sleep center in Kennebunk. It's open additional days. And again, we've saved. That's just one example. Okay. Why it's not up here? Right. Okay. Why are you doing that? Okay. Okay, we've run out of slides, so now we're going by his. Okay.
But before that, there are we've got iterations of this, and this is the shortened iteration, so the one that you have in front of you is the full.
Okay. Okay.
But it won't come up on the slide, you just have to.
All right. So I'm just going to go by my paper copy here. So again, in order for us to come together and to be financially viable, what we have, and I'm sure you've all read about this, I'm just going to explain what and how we're doing. So one of the decisions that we made was to have, again, as we begin to call ourselves Southern Maine Healthcare, we're calling ourselves the Biddeford campus and the Sanford campus. And so we have decided that as of January 1st, we will no longer do inpatient OB at the Sanford campus. We will, for the day of delivery will occur in Biddeford. And what's really important to know about that, though, is that we will continue to do both prenatal and postnatal care in the Sanford community. And again, this is all meant to make us financially viable well into the future. So there's some reasons. We looked at, we kind of looked at Southern Maine Healthcare and said, okay, if we're going to, if this is a financial decision, why don't we consider having OB, inpatient OB, all done in Sanford and not done at the Biddeford campus? And so this is what we came to find out. First of all, when you look at the Sanford campus for inpatient OB only, what we know is that for the last 4 years, Goodall Hospital has had anywhere from 157 to 197 births. Southern Maine Medical Center has had 550 births a year. And so, again, you do the math and you say there's 365 days a year. That's really only one birth every other day. And so really, primarily based on that, in addition to that, though, the majority of Sanford mothers already deliver in Biddeford. They either deliver in Biddeford or in Portland. So we have 56% of the Sanford mothers already going either to, we have 25% going to Southern Maine Med, 22% going to Portland, and 9% going to York. Again, you put that all together and it just makes sense. In addition to that, the Sanford campus, because of our need for capital in the past, we haven't been able to update the unit itself. And so, again, the care that's been provided by our OB staff is phenomenal. They have years and years and years of experience. So it's not the care that's the issue, it's really the low number of births. And then it's also a cost avoidance, because we're now to the point where if we're going to maintain inpatient OB, we really need to spend money on the unit. And so between equipment like new beds and new mattresses, we also would need to update the facility and make it more aesthetically pleasing. The minute you do that, you might need to now bring it up to today's standards, because the size of the rooms are actually too small. So when you put all that together, we would have to invest about $3.2 million into the unit. So allowing, because we're going to be one, and allowing all of the births to now go to Biddeford gives us a cost avoidance of over $3 million. So, closing of the inpatient OB is going to save us $2.1 million. Again, it wasn't an easy decision by any means, but a lot of homework was done, and above and beyond that, we also know by virtue of the fact that we're going to maintain the prenatal and postnatal care in the community, the Center for Women's Health will remain open. That's the key for expectant mothers. Okay. So, yeah, that's about where I am on here. All right. So, we know that healthcare is far too important for anyone to receive anything but the best. So we pledge to you, that Southern Maine Healthcare will continuously strive for excellence in all that we do. And we also strive, and we commit to, particularly you here in Sanford, everyone here, that we will provide healthcare services that are sustainable. And that's it. And so now Ed and I are ready for your questions. All right. Well, oh, go ahead.
I'll give it a shot. We're primarily with folks with substance abuse problems. If we have patients that are in need of detox or a medical detox specifically, or any kind of outpatient rehab, do you foresee any of that in future care? And if not, are you aware of any plans that SMHC might have to address the needs of those patients? Or does that come under the heading of mental health services?
It does to a degree.
Yeah.
We have an outpatient dual diagnosis program in Biddeford that you may be aware of.
Yes.
That's all that we're talking about right now. So you know, Mercy really is the go-to organization. We kind of work closely with them in Southern Maine, and so it is kind of intermingled to that degree with our mental health approach. You know, Patsy and I were just down at the York County Shelter for a couple hours this morning. You know, and we're kind of talking about the lack of services in general, and I think it's fair to say that we're going to be trying to address whatever needs we can in the community. But honestly, we haven't really talked much about substance abuse at this point. It's just not part of what we've done historically. And when you're going through a merger like this, you got a lot of other things that you're kind of concerning yourself with. But you know, your point's well taken. That's a really good question. It's a reminder that in Patsy and I got reminded in spades this morning that there's that huge population out there, substance abusers, that we've got to take care of together somehow. So,
Thank you.
What about law enforcement with somebody that's emotionally disturbed and bringing in for evaluation? Does that change any to which hospital is going to specialize more in that, or is it a mutual?
well, we were at the shelter this morning to talk in part about that, and Patsy described how difficult it is to have the right mix of mental health services in Goodall right now. That's not going to change overnight. We're going to have to work toward it. The fact of the matter is that we're just better prepared at Southern Maine Medical Center with some of those resources. So rescue is going to take folks who you all may pick up to the nearest hospital. But we're already working closely with Goodall, and we'll be transferring folks who CSI can't handle in the emergency department. You know, I think a little bit more easily to Southern Maine, where there are a little bit better resources. State police generally already, you know, when they pick up somebody and put them in protective custody, they bring them to Southern Maine. And again, it's nothing about Goodall Hospital, other than that they just don't have the kind of resources that we've been fortunate enough to have at Southern Maine. So I don't know if that gets, you know, Andy Powell, Dr. Powell is the emergency department head here. Andy, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think the biggest difference is for anybody who's, you know, kind of an out of control patient. Bedford campus has a locked psychiatric unit,
Yeah.
and they also have access to psychiatrists, whereas Sanford does not. And we have CSI, which is a, you know, counseling service that assess patients in Sanford, and they do bed searches to try to get them into facilities like Spring Harbor or Southern Maine Medical Center. However, they do not see a psychiatrist at the Sanford campus. So Bedford has psychiatrists. They don't necessarily see a psychiatrist right away there. However, if we're in a situation where we're holding a patient for a prolonged period of time, I believe greater than 24 hours, they will see a psychiatrist there in the ED. So there is some differences there, and that, you know, depending on the patient, that may be a better option.
So I think it's fair to say, Dr. Powell, that we don't expect folks in law enforcement or in the public to sort that question out, to just go to the nearest place if you're in doubt, and we'll sort it out from there, right?
Right, I mean, they often will kind of sort it out as a minor thing where they got scratched during arrest or something like that. They might stop by the nearest hospital on the way to the York County Jail. If it's somebody with severe mental instability, they may decide to go to Biddeford, but they're kind of doing that in the field already.
Yeah, good. So, you've got a question?
No.
Oh, you're going to add something?
I'm the straight guy in this case. Well, the one other thing to point out is that the difference after January 1 will be that instead of being two organizations, so the transfers that you've gone through now, right, Andy?
Right.
Involve a lot of paperwork because you're going from one hospital to another. Like if you go from Southern Maine to Maine Med, that goes away. You're actually, whether you come to this emergency department or the emergency department in Biddeford, it's within the same hospital. So the transferring of patients for any purpose will be much smoother. Is that right?
Yes. Good job, sir.
Thank you.
But the problem that exists is when that, to bring that down to the actual provider level in the hospitals, that's where the problem is, because, and I'm not saying this in a critical way, but in the past we've run into issues with Southern Maine didn't want us to bring our emotionally disturbed people to Southern Maine. They wanted, if we were in the Goodall area, they wanted us to take them essentially to the nearest hospital. And the law doesn't require that. The law just requires that we take them to a facility that has the ability to care for them. So we've run into that issue before, and we have worked very hard with Goodall, and we've developed some policies. So we're pretty comfortable now with, you know, I don't even, you know, because I mean, the issue with Southern Maine, they had legitimate issues. The ED could be full, the psychiatric ward could be full, and they would just sit in the ER there until there was an availability of a bed. So between the two units working together, I think we've come to it, and because this should just strengthen that now, and it should make it even better, because I think we've actually done a pretty good job. working with Goodall here. So now with the merger, it's obviously going to make it even.
I think so. Yeah, I agree. That's kind of what Sue was trying to describe. The other thing I'd have to say is that from a policy perspective, I was unaware that you were being signaled from our emergency department to just necessarily take folks to Goodall, no matter what the situation was. So I apologize for that.
Oh, no, not
we're in business to take anybody who needs our care. So.
And they would, but I'm just saying it just was a matter of,
okay.
It was just causing some issues.
Okay, I just want to be clear that we're not trying to tell patients where to go at this point. So, okay, there was a question over here.
I'm from the WIC office, and we've been hearing a lot from our pregnant moms about this whole transition, and they're really concerned about the transportation of ones on the heart, transportation to our local facility. Right. So we heard that possibly maybe some kind of transportation available.
Well, what we've done so far, again, we've just begun this journey with transportation, but we've met with the York County Community Action. So we've had 2 meetings so far. We learned that they have 2 forms of transportation, both you need to call ahead or scheduled routes. And so we've asked for them to actually add Goodall Hospital to Biddeford, to Southern Maine Med as a scheduled route, and above and beyond that to also add the physician offices down in Barrow Road as yet another, as part of their route. And so our goal is to have all of this in place by January 1st. So we have another meeting next week. So yeah, our goal is to have more scheduled visits, and then also to get the word out about their non-scheduled visits, how those all work. So yeah, our goal is to enhance that quite a bit, actually.
I don't think they're going to call you guys.
No, that's definitely, bottom line is, even if they need to, on the day of, let's say on the day of delivery, if they need to, they can certainly go to the emergency room, and then they'll be assessed and transported, or poor Dr. Powell will have to be delivering some babies. But, the reality is that 56% of Sanford moms already travel for the day of delivery. So, I'm kind of differentiating the prenatal and postnatal care from the day of delivery. But yeah, if an ambulance is needed, then they get to the hospital and we will transport them, or they call an ambulance. We'll get them to the appropriate place.
And I think also too, if they're enrolled in the hospital's main family support training program, the home visitors will be talking to the family about a plan of action if that happens, whether they're family members or people, so that they're thinking ahead of time if they go into labor very quickly. And there's that concern. So the hospital is providing that support as well.
All right, well, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much to Patsy and Ed for coming in and doing this. But if you guys feel free to get up and around, use the restrooms, coffee, tea, water, take that dessert, take it over there. Because the remainder of the meeting is really just an opportunity for us to, for the staff or Partners for Healthy Communities, to talk with you guys. We sat down as a staff and decided what we wanted to do for our annual meeting this year, which I've only been here a year. Meeting's only been here 6 months, so we're a fairly new staff. So we wanted to sit down and figure out how we wanted to do this. The one thing we decided is that we didn't want to just give you a report out of all the great things that have happened over the past year or 2 years. So we decided we wanted to make it a little more personal, which you'll see within Connie Regan's talks. But I do hope that you saw there's 2 posters out there that we called kind of our year in review, and just a little bit about Partners for Healthy Communities and the stuff that we have done over the past year. That I have to give a big thank you to Kristen Hill for putting together for us at the last minute. And she made them look nice. I can give her all my chicken scratch, and she kind of put it together in a nice way. So So on my end, I kind of struggled with what I wanted to talk with everybody about. And as I was doing this last night, not to say I was on the late end of this, but so as I was going through the slides, Patsy and Ed's slide, I realized that there's one that says change is required. And that is the one that actually resonated the most with me. Because Partners for Healthy Communities has really gone through a lot of change over the past year and a half to 2 years. So for me, that was really the one that stuck out. I've only been there a year, but with a lot of severe budget cuts that were looming and changes in staff, there was loss of the school health coordinators through the budget process. There's been a lot of change. So that was the one thing that really stuck on my end. But, and I know that change can be anxiety-provoking, produce a lot of fear. So the one thing that I am very proud of with the staff, I'm very fortunate to work with the staff, is I think we all took it on, and Connie has been through thick and thin with Partners for Healthy Communities, is that everybody took it on as kind of a challenge and an exciting new opportunity. Because change can be that. That is the nice part about change, is that it doesn't have to be. So then as I was going through, I wanted to do a lot of thank yous, and I realized that I sounded like I was about to give an acceptance speech, so I didn't want to do that either. But it really says a lot within this room for the amount of people that have come, for all the work that has been done in the past for Partners for Healthy Communities, prior to my arrival, prior to Regan's. But Connie is out there doing a lot of work. Sarah Roberts was here prior to me. So it really says a lot that Partners for Healthy Communities has been out there in the community and really making these connections. And for me, as I said, I only started a year ago, but it has been a great year. And I have to say that working with Goodall Hospital and now Southern Maine Medical, or soon to be Southern Maine Healthcare, has really been wonderful. From the moment I walked in and the moment that I've been able to meet all of the people, hopefully soon within this room, but most of the people I think I have met at this point, everybody's been welcoming and helpful, which says a lot for this community as a whole. And I think that's great. One of the things I was extremely impressed about was there's a lot happening in this area. A lot working on substance abuse, a lot working with youth and families. There's a lot of dedicated and passionate people. I think Connie will talk more about the Drug-Free Task Force, the Sanford Strong Coalition. There really is just a lot happening in this area, and that says a lot for all of you, because you guys are the ones that are actually doing that piece of the work. So I did also want to point out and say thank you, because there's another partnership that we work very closely with the Healthy Maine Partnerships. We work very closely with the Choose to Be Healthy Partnership over at York Hospital, and all of the staff, Debbie and I, and all the staff over there, and the Coastal Healthy Communities and Megan Michelle over there, and all of the staff I see here. So we do a lot of joint work with the grant funds that we have, and we work really hard to work in collaboration to bring stuff out to the district as a whole. And one of the things we do as an example of that is we pooled some funds and we use that towards our prescription monitoring program. So we have a coordinator who is out working throughout York County on the prescription monitoring program. So I really want to give a chance for Regan and Connie to talk, because they have a little bit more exciting stuff. But one thing I would be remiss if I didn't say is there another change that has kind of happened with us is, not kind of, but it has happened, is we now are welcoming Van Beckman to our team for Partners for Healthier Communities. He is the Let's Go coordinator, and he's currently over at Southern Maine Medical Center. So he's been working in that region, the Sanford, the Saco, Biddeford, Old Orchard region. But Maine Health, with support from Maine Health, we were able to hire a Let's Go coordinator for the Sanford Springvale area. So happy to say that Regan Brown has taken on that position. So she's still our health promotion coordinator doing pieces of that work, but we'll also be doing Let's Go in this area. So we're thrilled to have Van as part of our team and be able to bring our full team together. So I'm going to hand it over soon, but let me just finish by saying that with my discussion on change, really what it came down to is that we are working on change every single day. So as as anxiety-producing as it may be for some, we are working on changing, whether it's health promotion, health education, to get people to eat healthier, to do physical activity. We are working on change every single day in all of the work that we do. And the partnerships here really say a lot for what's going on in that community. So I want to say thank you. I mean, really for me, this was a celebration. This was a chance to actually just say thank you to all of you. And that's what we wanted to do. We didn't want to make this, you know, I've done this, this, and this. We wanted to say thank you to all of you because we're here because of the work that we do with all of you. So I thank you. I know the staff thanks you, and I really appreciate it. So I'm going to, I think I have one last quote, and I'm not going to read it to you, but what it is, it's the one thing I liked about it is it's taking the change and saying it's a synonym for hope. And I like that because it makes it more positive instead of a negative. And I think that's really all I had. I'm going to turn it over to Megan. And then I think Connie is up after that. So.
Promotion coordinator for Partners for Healthier Communities. And when Betsy asked me what I wanted to talk about, I told her that I wanted to get you all up and be physically active today. But I'm not going to do that, but I do think it's important. I know you've all been sitting for a long time. So I do think it's important, and this is my icebreaker. So I think, can we all just stand up for just a second? Just like shake out a little bit. Like you can stretch your arms. When I just tell the kids, like shake out your sillies. Shake them out. Okay, we can all sit that down. I'm not going to make you run. Have wishes. So, you see the word passion up here on the screen, and I want you all to sort of think about this word. Think about the word passion, and what does it mean to you? And you have a piece of paper in front of you, or just think about it in your head. What are you passionate about? You know, we all have different roles, but what are you passionate about? Does anyone want to share what they're passionate about? Connie, do you want to go to the next slide for me? I can tell you what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about my family. And when I asked the staff at PHC, when I asked Betsy and Connie to tell me what they're passionate about, Connie sent me a picture of her family. Connie, you can go to the next slide.
I'm in the dark over there. I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then that's my son, Aiden, over there. He's like, yeah, I just climbed the mountain. And you go to the next slide. And this is Betsy's family. So we're all, pretty much, I think everyone in this room can say that we're pretty passionate about our family, right? Passionate about our family. We're passionate about our friends. We're passionate about pets, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah? Anything else? Our religion, you know, a lot of us are passionate about that. Connie, you can go to the next slide, please. So I wanted to define passion, and passion is the term applied to a very strong feeling about a person or thing. Passion is an intense emotion, compelling feeling, enthusiasm, or desire for something. Passion comes from within. It's a motivational force that drives you to achieve a goal and help find the answer to your problem. Did anyone in this room write down or think about people? Can you raise your hand if you did? Did anyone think about public health? Yeah? So whether you recognize it or not, you're all passionate about people. And you're all passionate about public health. And that's why we're all in this room, right? So passion looks different for everyone. And every day we use our motivational force within to drive the work that we do. And so it's hard sometimes because in public health we don't see those outcomes right away, right? So it's hard sometimes to do that. So I just want you all to remember that the passion's there and it's within, and it's what drives us, and it's important, and it's why we do what we do. Next slide. So I wanted to put this quote up here. It's Dr. Seuss. I hope most of you are familiar with Dr. Seuss. But it's, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's just not, right? So I consider everyone in this room to be a catalyst for change. I think we are all catalysts for change. And I think one of the most important things, and I think we're displaying it here, is the partnerships. I think it takes all of us to see those public health outcomes. So with that, I'm going to leave you with that, and thank you all. If I haven't met you yet, please come introduce yourself to me, and I'm really excited to meet you.
And you can tell that Regan has no passion. I have to say it's easy to go to work with someone and share an office with someone who has that kind of energy, because when you get to be my age, you get to be the oldest one in the office, you sometimes need that. So I've had an awakening just from having Regan and Betsy to share space with. I came across this quote because I'm trying to summarize everything that we're trying to talk about here today. But coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. And I think that everyone in this room is here for a reason. We just didn't go through a list and say, who in town likes free food? We actually, well, I know, some people are thinking, okay, well, I guess I can be young. You're all here because in some way, shape, or form, we all have intermingled and worked together on some initiative that has brought some kind of success to our community. And that says a lot for the people that are in this room. Now I can go around every single table, and I don't know if they told you, but this really is going to be extended. And I can talk about every person in here and what they've done in the role that I've had for Partners for Healthier Communities and in working with substance abuse. But I don't want to do that to you because then you'll not come back next year. But I would like to recognize one group in particular because they have done phenomenal work in our community, and that's my drug-free task force. So those of you that are here from the drug-free task force, raise your hand. Task force members, raise your hand. The task force is a group of very passionate people who get together monthly and we talk about issues in our community, we problem solve, we got all the right people at the table that can make some change, and we're going strong. Can I have the next slide, please? We do have some good news to share, and this is Sanford data with our youth. I don't have Massapequa yet because I don't have any comparison data, because they just took the MEOS last year, but I will next year have some comparison data. But based on the 2013 data, our Sanford High School students' alcohol, binge drinking, marijuana, cigarette use, and prescription drug abuse has decreased. The second one, in addition, alcohol use has decreased overall from the 2010 results. That doesn't come without a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and it doesn't come from one person. It comes from the work that everyone in this room is doing, putting it together. It comes from approaching this topic from many different angles. Now, I know we've already talked about mental health a little bit, and that's huge. And when we talk about substance abuse and prevention, we think, okay, kids having a few beers, what's wrong with that? But the goal is to avoid those mental health issues later on and abusers. So prevention is key. Getting to our kids is key. Getting to our parents is key. Getting to our businesses are key. All of these partners are what we need to invest in the youth of our community so that we don't have to talk about, what do I do with kids out of control in the ED? Where do I bring them? How do I get services? In a perfect world, maybe we won't need that someday if we can do a really good job with prevention. And that's my passion, because I won't see it in my lifetime, but the reality is that if everybody continues to work together, it might happen. An example of how successful working together can be, and I had to go through a ton of things that were done last year by the task force, by all the partners in this room, to come up with one example of what success was in partnering and working together. A couple weeks ago, I was talking to someone, and she says, what's the most important part of your job? And I said, relationships. Knowing people, getting people passionate about something, pulling them together, and having them have a successful outcome. That's the example of what a group of people in our community did last year around prom and graduation time. We had many strategies going on. We did many things in our community that involved many partners. And it was a comprehensive approach. It wasn't just, well, let's just tell the kids don't drink. Because yeah, that may work, but we wanted to make sure that the message was consistent throughout our community. So we worked with schools, we worked with kids, we worked with law enforcement, we worked with media, businesses, healthcare providers, faith-based, and parents. All of these people working together resulted in a very safe prom graduation season for our community. And the credit for that goes to everyone in this room that in any way, shape, or form cares about kids of our community, which is all of us. Next slide, please. Just to give you an example of the finished product, I'm very proud of this. This was a fun project, and it involved many people. This was a brainchild of our own Bill King over here, who I'm glad is here today, sitting in his office talking about what are we going to do to keep kids safe. And I will say that law enforcement in our community, we're very fortunate to have 2 law enforcement departments that support being proactive and not just, you know, we can't arrest ourselves out of this problem, let's help these kids. So we're very fortunate to have that mentality with our law enforcement. So Bill King said, why don't we get kids together? Why don't we do a PSA? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? So then I pulled in Shannon, who's the media coordinator, and she came up with the idea, let's do this, let's do that. We came up with some other ideas. And then from there, we just continued to pull in other partners. Before you knew it, we had the police department of Sanford, the sheriff department, the media coordinators. We had kids from Sanford and Massapequa. We had the Journal Tribune there. We used Sandy's Bridal, and of course the staff from our office. And we put together a PSA for the kids before prom. If any of you want to check it out and watch it without stopping and starting, it's on YouTube under WSSR-TV. Thank you very much.
So we might actually get out a little bit early today. I just have 2 more things. One of them was I want to say a thank you to Beth Johnson. I know we didn't tell you because we knew. Beth Johnson has been kind of overseeing the community programs through Goodall Hospital for several years, and still took on making sure that Partners for Healthier Communities stayed afloat during the transition period, and has certainly helped me along the way over the past year while I've been learning things. So we just wanted to do, the staff just want to do a quick thank you to Beth, even though she's in a new position. Yeah. She wouldn't even walk up here. So thank you again. One person I forgot to mention before that I really wanted to mention who started around the same time I did is Adam Hartwig, who is our Public Health District Liaison. If you haven't met him yet, please do so. He's a great resource and our connection to the Maine CDC. So, and I know he's trying to get out there to meet everybody also. That's really it for us. Thank you guys so much. I just really wanted to celebrate, or the staff wanted to celebrate, and just say thank you to all of you for all the work that you do with us. And we really appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you guys in the next year, over the next year and 2 years, and hopefully a lot longer than that. And that's it. Thank you.